Okay, now we are 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the Battle of Casa Fanella, and as you've noticed, I've pulled whatever teams I have available back to my rear line of defense. We are engaging scattered enemy teams from this position, and for the most part, Casa Fanella itself, the objective, has been evacuated. You saw well, you might not have seen, but all the guys inside the house tried to exit the house, and they all got shot down by enemy teams out here in the orchard. The few guys that are remaining will attempt to get away, but to be honest, none of them are really going to make it. This team is dead. This team is almost dead. They're all moving back as best they can to this position up here. These two guys managed to get back here, but not many other guys will. The platoon leader is dead, which means I've lost control of the... where is he? Lost control of the artillery barrage that I was calling in. As you can see, let's see. He's receiving. He's still classified as busy. And if I hit go to spotter, all I get is a dead team. So, whether it's going to arrive, it should arrive. But at this point, I wasn't 100% sure whether or not my artillery over here was going to arrive, so I figured I would wait, and I'd call in my on-map 81mm mortars if it didn't come in. There's a couple of scattered teams. This one team here pulled back into this building. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, I really need to reinforce the defenses of Casa Raposa here as much as possible, because I wasn't 100% sure whether or not Bletchley Geek was going to come blowing through my remaining defensive line up here at the top of the hill, and whether I could even hold him back in the orchard area before my artillery arrived. Now, one other thing you might notice is about 2 minutes and 30 seconds after the attack on Casa Fanella, we now have a new attack brewing against Casa d'Antonio, and just like before, this one was sudden, massive, and contained overwhelming firepower, leveraged from multiple directions, which is to be expected. Once again, my wire positioning here, I think it did have an effect, honestly. I'm going to talk about this one at length later. Right now, I'm focusing on the fight for Casa Fanella. We're going to cover this particular action over here in its entirety, right up until the arrival of the artillery, and then we're going to rewind, and I'll talk about the fight for Casa d'Antonio, because despite the fact that if you look at it right now, it looks bad. It looks bad. But I'll tell you, it's not that bad, and you'll just have to wait and see exactly what I mean. And one other thing you might notice is this one enemy team way out here in the middle of nowhere. We'll touch more on him later as we cover the fight for Casa d'Antonio. We're going to zoom ahead to the next minute. I'll continue showing the action, and then we'll talk some more later. Okay, bye. Okay, so there wasn't a lot of action that turn. After the next minute's fighting, you can see I've consolidated my positions back here on my second line of defense. I managed to rescue a couple more teams, mostly just 2 guys in them. But managed to rescue a couple more teams from this forward line. These 2 guys down here are pinned down. I'm pretty sure they're going to be dead next turn anyway. But one thing you might have noticed is that the momentum of the enemy attack has effectively stopped. And this kind of left me a bit surprised. I consolidated squad up here. I mean, I was fully expecting to see him try to charge through up to this wall, maybe, like get lined up on this wall, cross the road and start getting lined up on this wall, because the last I saw of his guys, you can see from the contact markers, Bletchley Geek had a team right up at the bottom here. They're still there. He's had teams up along this stone wall over here for a little while. I mean, I figured he would have at least tried to continue his attack, and what I figured at this moment was he's probably bringing in reinforcements. There's probably a second wave, such as these contact markers back here in the trees that we've just barely noticed. He's probably bringing forward fresh platoons, bringing forward fresh guys. Maybe he's stopping to give buddy aid to some of his guys who are down out here in the field. Because it seemed a little surprising, especially this squad over here. You can see where my machine gun team was. There's an entire Canadian squad lined up right along the front side of this stone wall, and they're just slowly being picked off by this headquarters team up here on the top of the hill. As you saw during the action phase, they've ticked several casualties already, just from rifle fire. So at this point, I'm thinking Bletchley Geek is massing for another attack, but the thing is that my artillery is going to come in within the next minute. So if he is, in fact, over here, behind my wire, massing for another attack, preparing to push forward across the road and move on to Casa Raposa up here, he's doing it at a rather fortuitous time. One thing you might have noticed during the action phase is Bletchley Geek did blast a hole in the wire back here, and I'm assuming that all of those troops that I saw back here are now pouring through that hole, and they're going to move up and enter the house and secure the objective zone. And that will lead me to... I'm not sure if I did it this turn, or if I did it next turn. Yes, I already have it there. I think that started next turn. Basically what I did was I took every single on-map mortar that I could get a hold of with this headquarters unit. And I wasn't sure whether or not this 120mm mortar strike would arrive, because the platoon leader that called it in is now dead, and I was not sure. As I said, I was expecting him to overrun my positions and continue moving up the hill, so I wasn't sure if this guy would still be alive to call in this mortar strike. So I took my mortar platoon HQ, used the target reference point, and I'm just calling in a huge wide area mortar barrage that's going to arrive in the next minute as well. So all of my artillery is sitting over here, is being called in, is using the target reference point to be called in, and there's going to be a huge artillery stonking that's going to happen next turn, and we'll see what happens on the next turn. As you can see, the fight for Casa d'Antonio is heating up. Some of the other teams out and about are starting to get involved, and the fighting is even stretching across the map all the way over to this side near Masseria Emilia. So once again, we're only focusing on the fight for Casa Fanella right now. I'm going to continue the action and commentary right up until the point where it appears that the fight is over. So I'll talk to you some other time. Okay, bye.